Good morning to everyone. I will try to share my thoughts with you regarding the irregular migration. And in beginning, I would like to say that for sure the presentation delivered today will not give you any or all answers to the questions, because the migration are really extremely complex and vivid phenomena. There is no black and white picture, and of course each migrant has, or each case of irregular migration have more different faces to look at. What is the reality in, or what is the main impact on the reality in migration area? First of all is a political and security background. And the political decisions have really huge impact on migration. Then strategic decisions taken by the law enforcement, and of course operational measures also, which means all three areas of the decisions or activities have huge impact on migration. To continue with a little bit of terminology, I would like to stress out that this is the quite serious issue, terminology. You wouldn't believe, simply because in a lot of cases in media there is really confused situation because of the wrong usage of the methodology or the terminology. And in the reporting there, all the migrants are refugees, or all the asylum seekers are refugees already, and things like this. First of all, immigration means that usually that we define with immigrants people who are coming to the specific states. Immigration, it's a general term from states one to another one. Refugee is the specific term used for the persons who are granted with asylum already, which means that there is a process, administrative process and security process done before the person can become refugee. But before each refugee is a refugee, he is an asylum seeker. And the asylum seekers are people who are applying for asylum, who are applying for the protection. And of course, the more generate term is economic migrant, and we will speak today about economic migrants, and basically, and we will focus on economical migration, not too much to the refugees and the people who are fleeing from the countries because of the war, or they would like to save their life and life of their close ones. We have forced and voluntary migration, and you can imagine that under the forced migration I understood mostly the people who are entitled to get refugee status. Reasons for migrating are different. Basically, we can put them into two groups. In one group there are push factors, in another group there are pull factors. Push factors are the factors which push the people away from their home, and the pull factors are factors who are attracting people to the country of the final destination. All reasons, or each reasons, depend on individual or in the environment. You know, there are push factors from the countries of origin depending on the individual. For instance, that could be specific circumstances in the family, specific circumstances in the with the person, which means that the person is prosecuted, or doesn't matter what kind of process she or he have with state authorities, or he or she doesn't have anything to stay, or simply personal circumstances. But in environment, it's a little bit different. Environment can depend on the water supply. It could be war. It could be something which is much more general, or just poor living conditions. Speaking about illegal border crossings, you can see here that numbers are decreasing in the last year from first quarter. If you compare first quarter 2016 to the first quarter 2017, you can see that there is a big drop down of the numbers. Especially there is a huge drop down in the Western Balkan route, you can see here, and there is a small increase, or not so small increase, but it is an increase in the Central Mediterranean route, and in the Western Mediterranean route they are increased, but Western Balkan route, it is a huge drop down of the numbers, which means, and which give us the opportunity to ask ourselves why the so significant drop down or decrease of numbers appears. So the question is, who are the migrants? Mostly in the media there is a discussion about Syrians migrating to Europe because of the war, and some other parts from the area under the let's say war or different armed conflicts. Let's see the Syrians at that moment. You know, in accordance with the UNHCR reports, there is a 4.8 million Syrians moved out from their homeland, or they left their homes. Most of them, they are at that moment in Turkey, then in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Iraq, then in Egypt. Most of them, they are there. And most of them, you can see also that they are men, 27%, women 25%, and 48% of the children. And I can say that they are, according to my firm belief, they are really refugees. In Turkey at that moment there is a 3.5 million foreign nationals. Most of them, they are Syrians, and they are asylum seekers and refugees mainly from other states, Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, and Somalia. It's a 324,000 persons. European Union responds to the situation in Turkey with the EU Emergency Social Safety Net Program. And there is also a response with a direct cash aid to the refugees, which was quite innovative tool. By the October 2017, over the 1 million people benefiting from this new innovative approach, direct cash aid to the migrants. So in Greece, speaking about Greece, there is the Greece was the main gateway for migrants 2015 and 2016. In 2015, they report up to 9,000 arrivals per day. 9,000 persons per day. I'm repeating this. Originally, the Greece was a country of transit, and after the significant measures taken in the all Western Balkan route, the numbers in Greece are decreasing. In Italy, there are mostly arrivals via Libya, and you know that, or probably you are aware that since European Council decision about the specific measures and decisions of the European Parliament about a little bit different approach to the Mediterranean migration route, the numbers are also a little bit different than they were in the past. However, you know, there is a a little bit, or it is a more specific and different approach to the migration itself, and as it is seen from the media, mainly the Libyan Coast Guard becoming more and more operational and more efficient in one hand, which means from the law enforcement point of view, and of course the human rights respecting agency as well. This week actually I saw in the media there was a few articles regarding the slavery, which is a kind of side effect of the more difficult conditions to cross the Mediterranean Sea, and this will be in the future, in the nearest future, extremely serious issue. And I also saw, probably you saw as well in the media, that there is a Security Council of the United Nations took a decision on slavery recently. So let's focus back to our topic. European Union also supported states affected by irregular migration strongly, which you can see also that Italy received 592,000 millions, Greece 509, Bulgaria 91, and the Western Balkan in the European Union invested in the Western Balkan more than 21 million euros. Of course, on top of this, there is significant humanitarian aid to Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan. Let's go back to our topic, basically, and the core of this to the core of this presentation or webinar, which is the irregular migration and possible solutions how to fight against this phenomena. So we have a push factors again. And do we have any impact on the push factors? Basically, not so strongly. Let's go back to the previous slide with the humanitarian aid to the Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan, which means humanitarian aid to the countries of origin. There is a small impact on the push factors. However, there are some structural causes in the countries of origin, and this will be always the case, especially according to the scientists. The water shortage will be more and more burning issue, and probably in the future we will face also quite significant number of migrants seeking for water. Combination of conflicts and life insecurity are serious push factor, and as I said, also the environmental disasters can be the reason for the migration. Not necessarily in these cases, not necessarily to the irregular migration. It could be if the serious earthquake or something like this will happen, the people will migrate, and they will not be irregular migrants because it is a really humanitarian migration in this case. So we should understand why the people are migrating to the countries from the countries of the origin to the final destinations of the mainly in the European Union. In this area on push factors, you can see by yourself, if you are law enforcement and dealing with migrants, that we can recognize this significant push factors only in the small part of the migrant population, let's say. Basically, in 2015, 2016, all of them, they declare that they are from Syria. However, according to the results published much later, there were less than quarter of those migrants, they were from Syria. Most of them, they were from North Africa and other parts of the Middle East, and not from the Syrians. Syrians mainly stay in Turkey. Speaking about the pull factor, and this is much more interesting, and there is a much bigger area of opportunity for the law enforcement, politicians, and of course for strategic and operational activities. The biggest pull factor is idea of life abroad, which push the people to migrate. I can say that in 2002, 2003, and I remember from the interviews with migrants that commercial for Coca-Cola was one of the biggest pull factors, simply because they saw how nice the life in Europe and in the Western world is. You know, the lights, the jingle bells, the nice music, cold Coca-Cola and things like this. Of course, the idea of life, which I will show you later on, it is always, or in most cases, a different one than is this reality. The people migrating because they have the better economic opportunities in the destination countries. The people decide to migrate also because there is a low cost or easy access to the final destination, which means route. And in 2015, 2016, I can say that the extremely easy travel across the Western Balkan route was one of the biggest pull factors. And the corridor established in the region was pull factor by itself, and pull factor established by mostly by the law enforcement and politician decisions. The pull factor is also the presence of diaspora from the country of origin in the host country or the country of final destination, because if there is already a lot of people who are connected with migrants, or migrant is connected with the people who are already living abroad, there is a huge pull factor. And what we saw also in the 2015-2016 migration float, let's say, is that migrants send back migrants who reached Germany or countries in the European Union. They send back pictures how great the living conditions are. They take the photos, selfies. They took selfies in front of the Mercedes-Benz and sending back picture. Listen, look, here is really great. I got already Mercedes-Benz, the blonde wife or lady, and the house with the pool. So, and I saw such kind of messages, which is again, it is a huge pull factor. You can imagine that you are living somewhere in the really poor condition, and the guy you know sending you the message how great he is, or how successful he is a few months after he depart from your village. And of course, what you will decide, let's go there, let's see, let's use this opportunity as well. It's a lifetime opportunity. So in 2002 or 2001, I wrote this theory, or it is a kind of theoretical approach for migration, because in 2099, 2001, 2001, Slovenia faces at that time quite significant or strong pressure, migration pressure on our borders with Croatia. At that time there were 38,000 migrants in 1 year, which is only a drop comparing with the 2015-2016 wave. So what I wrote that probability that an individual will decide for illegal migrating under the condition that his life or life of his close ones is not endangered, and taking into consideration his psychosocial circumstances, is proportional to his notion about his life in the target country, and at the same time in due proportion with the costs which he or she will have to pay for the travel and troubles which he or she anticipate along the journey or in the target country respectively. With this saying this means that from this approach we exclude, or I exclude, the asylum, the refugees, asylum seekers, the persons who are leaving their country of origin to save their life or life of their ones, or they are endangered. They are not part of this theoretical saying or this thesis. However, out of this we have different elements. In one hand we have an idea of life, we have a price he or she will have to pay, and difficulties he or she will expect. In 2002, I was criticized that I was seriously criticized that this economic approach or economical view on the migration is not acceptable. However, things changed, and now we are speaking exactly about the economics of migration, and there you can find on the just type in the Google and you will get quite significant amount of results if you will speak about, if you will ask about the economics of migration. Speaking about motivation for onward journey, there are different answers from the based on the World Food Program. From via interviews with migrants, you can see why they decide to move. Basically, in West Africa and in Italy, they would stay if they could find the suitable stable employment. And here I will connect what I'm saying with what I said before. Some West African migrants expressed regret about their decision to migrate, particularly due to the hardship endured along the journey, because the troubles they suffer, or how they suffer, they didn't expect something like this. So decision on the individual is always what do I get and how much this will cost, or how much the troubles I can expect. And there is no such thing as a free lunch. And of course, there is no such thing as a free journey as well. Basically, it is even more significant if there is a irregular or illegal crossing. If the journey, or if the part of the journey is illegal crossing of the borders during the journey. And organized crime groups, we should think about them like tourist agencies. They do marketing and advertisements in the countries of origin, simply to get the customers. And here I'm sorry, I will use this terminology, which is a little bit more economical than accurate in our case. So the decision is always what do I get and how much this will cost me. And idea in the country of origin or back home, it's a little bit different, especially if you will put in the what do I get Mercedes-Benz blonde wife and house with the pool with commercial of the organized crime groups who inviting you to travel, and it is easy, it will be cheap, and it will be it will be guaranteed that in 2 or 3 weeks you will end up in Germany. And so, as I said, no such thing as a free lunch exists. So travel from the country A to the country F should be paid. If you will travel by car, you should pay gasoline. If you will travel by train, you should pay ticket. If you will travel by airplane, you should pay ticket. And if you will go on foot, the cost you should get you should sleep somewhere, you should eat somewhere, you should drink somewhere, which is another cost. And it is always, everybody should always pay to travel. So and speaking about migration, migrants, the organized crime groups offering, in a lot of cases, or in the most of cases, they are offering their support, their service to the migrants. And going back to the pure economy, there is the price is always where the offer and demand line will cross each other. And speaking about this, to explaining a little bit more, if we have a demand, you know, and if there is a high price, the demand will be zero. If there is an iPhone, if iPhone will cost 10,000 euros, nobody will buy it, or only few gigs will buy it. And here is a quantity. If the iPhone will cost 10 euros, everybody would like to have it. And again, in the offer side, if the iPhone would cost, or mobile phone would cost, let's say, 10 euros, there is no profit for the producers, and there will be really small amount of producers, or again, it will be only I don't know why, I don't know how could I say, but it will be on the market only few cases available. There will not be a lot. But if the price is high, in that case, I will say tourist agencies. If the price is high for the same service, a lot of them will appear in market, and a lot of providers will offer the same service. But the price, in the end, it is always according to the economical theory, where offer and demand line will cross each other. Remember this for the later discussion. So, do we have impact? Can we have impact on in this case on offer side, which there are tourist agencies offering to migrants, or organized crime groups acting like a tourist agencies, offering the easy travel for migrants from the country A to the country F. Do we have impact on this line? I think so. So on the offer side, we have an impact. We have an impact on the demand side, and of course, if the environment will change, again the circumstances will change. So let's speak about impact on the offer side, or impact on the organized crime groups. Organized crime groups, they are business-like model, acting like a business organizations, acting like a tourist agencies. So they are pass-as-you-go packages, which means that you will travel in your journey, or in migrant journey, migrant will travel from country A to country B and cross the border, let's say with one provider, and then with another provider, and then with another provider. So this is for migrants with a little financial means. Bit by bit, they are paying their journey. and in this case, smugglers may not be linked one to another. We could speak about the local crime groups, and these migrants are more likely to become slaves, to become exposed, or they are exposed to be abused. Different stories goes with the package deals. It is from country A, offer from country A to country F, maybe quicker, safer, and with higher guarantee of success. And of course, it's much more expensive. And connecting first point with another one with the second one, always, as I said, there is no such thing as a free lunch. But here the lunch in package is much more expensive, and organized crime groups are advertising such kind of service to the migrants. Routes, you can see here, there is at that moment there are routes from the Africa towards Europe via Mediterranean, while the routes from the Middle East and towards Europe are decreasing, and the Balkan route is not so significant anymore as it was in the past. In first quarter 2017, there is 39,000 illegal crossings reported, comparing with previous year, the same period in the years 2015 and 2016. You can see enormous difference. Yeah, we had, sorry to say, but we had the pool prepared, and I would like to ask you, what do you think, how much the organized crime groups earn out from this smuggling business? In 2000, according to the Europol calculation, in 2015, the migrant smuggling networks generated between 4.7 billion euros and 5.7 billion euros profit. Is this big? Is this money? Is this huge money? According to my beliefs, it's enormous money, especially if we compare this with some states. You can see that budget for former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, it is a 3.4 billion. I can say that that Slovenian budget is around 10 billion euros, and GDP of the Slovenia with 2 million inhabitants for this year was estimated to the 44 billion euros. But this is the state, this is the state. And in 1 year, organized crime groups earned 4.7 billion euros. Seriously, and where this money goes, this is the serious threat to the security, because this money, this let's say blood money, will appear in the market, will appear somewhere else as well. Probably will be reinvested back to the business. And due to the fact that organized crime business is extremely lucrative, this money will be invested probably not in the schools and the public facilities, not to the transport facilities or public buses and trains and things like this. It will be not the hospitals. It will be invested into the black market with drugs, with weapons, with smuggling people, and even trafficking people, and even to the slavery. And slavery exists. This is sad to say, but slavery exists. So based on the activities we did, or law enforcement did, and the politicians did in all three levels, if you remember the first slide, political, operational, strategic and operational activities, the significant drop in profit between 2015 and 16 was estimated to the 2 billion euros. So let's go back. What that means? How we can do we have impact on organized crime groups? So if we or law enforcement, the police, criminal CID, the criminal police departments, and everybody is taking care to find in each and every migrant case to find out the information, who is behind, or who organized the trip from the during the journey or the route, who was involved, why, and if the law enforcement agents are really keen to fight this phenomena and keen to dismantle organized crime groups, that would bring to higher probability to be apprehended. So if there is a higher probability to be apprehended, it is a really risk for the travel agencies, if the travel agencies will be dismantled. This is the huge risks for them. On top of this, if there is a higher probability to be apprehended, it's not enough, you know. If there is not efficient and fast procedure behind, this will not be big risk. But if there is a efficient and fast procedure behind, it will be bigger risk. And of course, if there is a quite high penalty for crime, smuggling of people, by the way, the smuggling of people 17 years ago was not a crime. It was a minor offense. And now during this time period, most of the politicians realized that this is the crime, and comparing the crime or word crime with the fact how lucrative this business is, 4.7 billion euros in 2015. You can see that it is a really lucrative business, and politicians realize that this should be a crime, and it is now crime everywhere. So all those three elements, higher probability to be apprehended, an efficient and fast procedure, and the penalty, mean higher risk. And again, going back to the first slide, it is fast and efficient procedure, and the penalty, especially the penalty, the penal code is adopted by the parliaments, and the parliaments, they are politicians. So if the politicians are aware of the problem, it is we can go ahead. If there is an efficient and fast procedure, which means this is a strategic measures are necessary, organizational measures are necessary, that will be a higher risk. And of course, if the first police officer who is dealing with the migrants is aware of the possibility that there is a organized crime behind, and he or she will invest enough time in the interview with migrant, he or she will get information back, and drop by drop the river of the procedures against the organized crime will appear. So the higher risk means higher expectations. So if you are investing in the business more, you expect more out from the business, which means that if your input is higher, which means that the output expected is higher as well. Basically, higher increased price would mean decreased demand and kind of recession in the market. Of course, and that was a critics already in early 2002, 2001, that organized crime groups will never die. They will always appear they will always appear somewhere else, or if they will switch from one business to another business. They will switch from smuggling migrants to the smuggling of the drugs, and always they will seek lucrative business. However, we are speaking here about migrants and irregular migration, and I can assure you that the Western Balkan route or the Balkan route is the perfect proof that this theory works. I will explain it a bit later. So, if we had before price here, and I said that the price is set always near the point where the demand and offer line will cross each other, and if we will put offer side higher, the price we will push price higher. That would mean that point where the demand and offer side will meet is a little bit more in left, and price go up. You can see here there is a price, and the quantity goes down, and it works. So the question now is, do we have the demand on impact on demand side, impact on the migrants? Can we move the demand side as well? And my answer is yes, of course. We can do this with a repressive policy with migrants. With repressive policy with migrants means that irregular migrating is offense, and we shall not tolerate such kind of offenses. The strongest impact on migrants is removal. Forced removal, step back, which means, what that step back mean? For instance, we have a migrant X who traveled on his own from, let's say, from Turkey to Croatia, and from Croatia to Slovenia, and from Slovenia to Austria, let's say. And Austrian law enforcement, Austrian police will apprehend him or her, and they will remove the person back to Slovenia. And if there is if there are some circumstances available, the Slovenia will remove person back to the Croatia. What that mean? That he, or if there is only one border, it's also efficient. Which means if he will, if he or she traveled already from Croatia to Slovenia, he crossed the border. So which means the border line is the most risky part of the journey. So, and he or she is day after back to the Croatia, he should do this small part of the journey again and again and again. And of course, this increase his or her costs, and of course, this is the time consuming travel or journey, and there are troubles, because the dealing with the law enforcement, it's not the best case scenario for no one. So, but the best impact is removal back to the country of origin. And here, in the last years, Frontex and European Union states, and even some Western Balkan states, they did really huge progress. Removal back to the country of origin is one of the best impact also into the push factors, or not push factors, pull factors. Because do you remember the guy with a Mercedes-Benz and with a photo of Mercedes-Benz, blonde wife and the house with the pool? Okay, if this guy will be deported back to the village where he was from, and the guy who got the picture from the Germany with Mercedes-Benz, blonde wife and the house with the pool, will be able to realize that that life is not so easy, and and he was not so successful as he claimed that he is. Then we have a voluntary removal. In a lot of cases, and there is more and more cases when the migrants are stuck in the middle of the journey, and they realize that they had a wrong idea of the life of the living conditions abroad or in the country of the destination, and they decided to go back, that it was better in their village than it is in this wonderland, or how could I call it, the heaven in the Western or Eastern Western Europe. So the people are really, they are willing to go back, and here I think there is a big opportunity and big obligation of the states to help them. Holding up in the countries in the region is a huge impact, which means that if there is a migrant, apprehended migrant, and according to the legislation, he or she should be removed back, or removed back to the country of origin, or at least one readmitted one step back. He or she shouldn't move freely in the transit countries. It should be put into the migration center, waiting for the removal to the country of origin, or at least step back. And according to most of the legislation in Europe, there is up to 6 months possibility to detain somehow migrants during their journey. And of course this would mean huge and significant problem for them, and of course it have an impact on migrants. And the last but not least, and the most important, almost the most important one, is the fast and efficient asylum procedure. Why the most important? Because here we are speaking about the human rights as well, and if there is somebody among the migrants who is really refugee, it should be, and he or she need help, he or she should get the help, and it should get it fast, and the procedure should be fast and efficient. With fast and efficient procedure, this fake asylum seekers, or how they are called in some states, or abuse of the asylum procedure, is not the pull factor anymore, which was in the past. So going back to the calculation, so previously we calculated that the meeting point of the offer and demand side was here. If we push down the interest for migration, the meeting point is here, and the price go down, but the quantity will go down as well. And both of these prices are always really good indicator on how efficient and effective we are. So we can have also impact on the environment, which means like offenses we put, or the states put in the border, and this is like regulating the market. So a little bit faster, what is required? The coordinated policies are required. Solidarity in one hand, protection of the people along the migration routes, which means their human rights should be protected as much as possible, combating human trafficking and organized crime groups, and responsibility for efficient border management on all states in the routes is necessary. It's really, really necessary. In the beginning, Rok asked you a question about the threats and impact. So we have different threats and impact on the migration level. So we have an impact on the costs, on the organized crime, the trafficking of human beings and exploitation of the more modern slavery. But the migration have a impact on the state level as well. But this is my personal opinion. I believe that migration, the 2015-2017 corridor, caused the serious political changes in the European Union, and that was the strongest and the biggest impact and the biggest threat caused by migration. They have also the migration itself. They have impact on the feeling of safety, which is not necessarily response to the number of crime or number of attacks to the people, but it is also, or in how could I say, in bigger amount or bigger numbers, it is a reflection of the media, how the media reporting the specific case. The migration are costly business for the states as well, because there is a need to provide the human rights for the migrant, the medical support, the education they need. So it's really significant cost for the states and for the budgets, I mean. And of course, rise of xenophobia and nationalism. This is the most serious issue I see as a threat. Why I'm saying this, I mean that after the 2015 and 16, and there were serious changes in the political environment in the European Union. In UK, the anti-European Union propaganda or the discussions were mostly based on the migration, how big threat of migration or threats on migration. They convinced the people were convinced, or the voters were convinced, that this is the serious threat for them as well. The extreme right parties are more and more important in the European Union. I'm personally not how could I say, not against. However, usually the nationalist party, they are putting the national priorities before the European Union values, and this is the threat for European Union, which means not necessary threat for the citizens. However, the community, as we know right now, it will be and could be endangered simply because it is a threat. So the political answer is also the reintroduction of the internal border controls is one of the political responses to the 2015-2016 flow, and this is the extremely negative one. This is the reasons why the states introduce this secondary check, the internal borders, are more or less listed here. But probably you are not aware that there are some significant or serious impact as well. The reintroducing border control in European Union means economical consequences as well. Immediate costs between 5 and 18 billion annually. Transport sector suffer from 2 to 7 billion per year. Lost time for the travelers. Tourism sector claim as a loss, and of course administrative costs as well. So there is a plus and minus always. EU introduced measures in. So here we're speaking about measures introduced by the states in Europe. Then European Union introduced the straits, the measures to strengthen EU border control security, amendments to the Schengen Border Code, changes in the Schengen Information System. The European Border and Coast Guard Agency has been established, which is brand new with a new mandate now. Frontex still, it can be called Frontex. And what we learn, do we learn something? I not mean during this webinar, but did we learn something out from the 2015 and 2016 case? I think so. I think so that simply because the politicians are aware of the push and pull factors, the corridor has been closed down, there is a huge impact on the migrants and huge impact on organized crime groups. This is the kind of priority for the Frontex, for the Europol, for the all states involved, and of course the environment changed. Comparing with 2015, the European Union now is behind the wall. So we built the China wall around the Europe more or less, which is not the stone, but it is even more effective than stone one. I am not in favor for the border, so I don't see I'm not in favor for the fence in the borders, so I don't see this as the best solution. However, it is the case and it is the reality. And coming back to the first slide, the reality has different colors and a different sound and a different smell. Doesn't depend on from which angle or you are observing it. So that's, I think, all from my side. Thank you very much, Rock, and thanks to all of you for listening to me and for your patience.